Well, hello and welcome back to my podcast, Manna at the Tap. My name is Gloria, and we are beginning the third week of Easter in the middle of April. It's Monday, April 15th, 2024. Today, we delve into a significant lectionary text, Jeremiah chapter 30, verses 1 to 11a, which holds profound promises of restoration and renewal from God. In the middle of Jeremiah's book, we find chapters 30 to 31, verse 40, which is often called the Book of Consolation or the Book of Comfort. These chapters are not just a mixture of poetry and prose, but they are a beacon of hope written after the destruction of Jerusalem, offering solace and optimism to those living in exile. The people are struggling with what restoration will look like if they return home. They're also thinking about their relationship with God. The memories are still fresh, laden with disaster and the destruction of the city of Jerusalem. The people experienced profound loss and suffering, and it was difficult to imagine what restoration would look like without thinking about the pain and the divine judgment that came with it. There was plenty of weeping, and Jeremiah acknowledged that the people were suffering, believing this was a punishment from God. But we should look at the words recorded in the lectionary right now. Let's see who's speaking. It is the Lord, the God of Israel, who's speaking. Let's listen to what he's saying. God asked Jeremiah to write a permanent record of what his covenant was and what he was going to do for his people. He wanted Jeremiah to put it in writing. God knows the people are suffering, but amid the suffering, God is offering them the hope of restoration to the land that belonged to their ancestors. God heard their cries of panic. Their peace was shattered. The men are described as though they were in labor, as they wrenched in pain with contorted faces, pale as death. It was a very dark day, and the people wondered if they would ever come out alive. But then something happened in the darkness. God entered the darkness to free his people from the yoke of bondage that was around their necks. God will free his people to be free from slave labor. Instead, they would serve a loving God, the one King David established for them. Here is the promise of salvation. They were not to fear anymore. They were not to despair. They were to look up. I'll save you out of faraway places, and I, God, will bring your children back from exile. I will be with you, and I will save you. What do you think when you hear the word of the Lord spoken to people whose lives were in a mess? The word of the Lord reminds them that he is with them in the midst of their sorrow, and he promises that he himself will bring them home. The return from exile can only occur because of God's commitment to God's people. They cannot accomplish it by themselves. The return from exile will not only reverse the journey into exile, it will be a new departure. God says, I will lead them back. And as a shepherd leads his sheep by water to drink and by fields to eat, this journey home implies it will be easier than the original departure when the people's lack of faithfulness led them to journey for 40 years in the wilderness. We too are like the people described in our lectionary reading. Do you feel burnt out, hopeless, and burdened down, blaming yourself for what is happening to you? I invite you to listen to the words of hope God offers you. Jeremiah wrote them down, signed with God's signature of I will, as a statement to God's faithfulness. Our present situation will not last forever, and it is not the end. God is waiting and willing to guide you home. He's in the midst of the mess that is happening in your life, and He will mix and work it all together for your good. And that is His promise to you today.